Hello, my name is Paul Lampland and I'm the host of this program, Kids in School. Today I have two guests. My guest, Tory Peterson from the Perpich Center for the Arts and Education, and my other guest, Robert Reyes, who's here from the Department of Education for implementing the McKinney-Vento Act, homeless students in Minnesota. And today we'd like to talk about the program that the McKinney-Vento Act is enabled to do to help homeless students. Roberto, tell us a little bit about what is the McKinney-Vento Act.
The McKinney-Vento Act is a federal act that offers protections to homeless students and youth in the public schools in Minnesota, and that applies to local education agencies and charter schools. And what it does is it helps school districts identify students that are homeless, whether it be families or youth, by nighttime residence. And when we say nighttime residence, we talk about are they living in a hotel or motel? Are they sharing housing with others? Or are they unsheltered, meaning that they don't have a place to live or dwelling, or they could be living in a car or an abandoned building, or they could be living in a public transportation venue.
And what are the schools, the public, St. Paul public schools, this is for preschool all the way through the 12th and students that are up to the age of 21, is that correct?
Yes, the McKinney-Vento Act works in identifying all students, including preschoolers and early childhood students, 0 to 2, 3 to 5, and K to 12, all the way to the age of 21, students that are attending schools in a public education and need resources to get to school, or they need immediate enrollment, or they need transportation, or they need services.
And what are the schools in our public school districts required to do to help serve these homeless students?
Thank you. Well, public schools are required by the McKinney-Vento Act to have a school liaison, which would be, the liaison is the McKinney-Vento point of contact at the school that helps identify the students and the families. It helps, this person is able to identify them and also serve them and enroll them and provide the services that they may need.
And is this primarily children that are part of military families, or?
In some cases, they could be a child of a military parent that could be deployed, and it could be that the parent or the guardian is deployed and they're in the military, and the child happens to be enrolled or staying with someone on a temporary basis, and therefore, because of their nighttime residence, they would meet the criteria for McKinney-Vento student. And the district would help them with services such as transportation, immediate enrollment, or services that the student needs.
Excellent. And this is a federal act, correct?
Yes, McKinney-Vento is a federal act, and it has a history and origins of Minnesota with Representative Bruce Vento, which was one of the authors of the law. And McKinney, Representative McKinney, that was from Missouri. And from what I understand, that the person that drafted the legislation, the lady, I can't remember her name, has her origins from Minnesota, and she used a lot of the components of the act around youth programs in Minnesota. So it does have a flavor of Minnesota, the act.
So I think a lot of times when people hear the term homeless or homeless students, they might think about that veteran that's sitting on the corner trying to beg for money, or maybe there's somebody who are in a shelter. But the reality is that homeless encompasses people in a lot of different life living situations, and they may not necessarily not be living in a dwelling, but their situation might be more temporary, correct? Correct.
Yes, so homelessness pretty much touches all of our lives. You could be homeless due to economic reasons because of an economic downturn. You lose your employment, you lose your housing. There could be a deaf in the family. You could be a child of an incarcerated parent, a parent that goes to a Minnesota Correctional Institution, and you're staying behind as a child and living with someone other than your parent or guardian. You may be living with a friend, a relative, and you're in a temporary living situation. You could be unsheltered. You could be an unaccompanied youth. You could be a youth living on your own. And basically, you could be couch hopping. You're staying from one place to another. You're sharing housing in your friends, and you're not living with a relative. So that homelessness runs the gamut, yes. And also, you could be a child of a veteran and not have permanent housing, correct.
So the purpose of this act is to be able to help those students be able to acquire the needs, the resources, the funding, to be able to make whatever their needs are to attend school on a regular basis possible.
Yes, we want the McKinney-Vento Act ensures educational stability while the family or the youth is in influx and they're going through this transition. So that's the purpose of the law, to ensure educational stability so that the student or youth can continue to attend the school of origin where the precipitating event of homelessness occurred. So that means that whatever the district that they are enrolled, they can continue to attend. Or if they're living and staying in a new school district, they have the right to enroll in that new school district and continue their education.
Tory, you work as a facilitator in the theater program over at the Perpich Center for Arts and Education. And certainly you probably have some of these students as well, but it would be true that your school also accepts students from not just the district that you're in, located in Golden Valley. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are the Minnesota Center for Arts Education. There are a number of components to the school or the agency because we are a state agency. We have the Arts High School, we have professional development, we have the library. And I teach theater at the Arts High School. We have a residential component also, which means we take students from all over the state of Minnesota. We've had students from International Falls, Moorhead, Duluth, Austin, Rochester, Worthington, and these students all come and audition for the school, and if accepted, they have the opportunity to live in the dorm, participate in the residential program, while then going to school.
Fantastic. And as I think I saw on the website, the latest news is that now students can be given the opportunity to have part of that boarding cost, that they might get assistance with that.
Yeah.
Can you define what that criteria is?
Sure.
Somehow?
It is something that the board just passed, I believe, last week. About trying to either cut all dorm fees or cut back on the dorm fees. So I don't really have right now a lot of information in front of me. I would say that with concerns about residential funding and whatever, just call the school and talk with Ann Johnson, our residential coordinator, and so on, and that information can be relayed fairly easily. So
okay,
yeah.
So this is certainly helpful for those students that are in the throes of homelessness or in a transitional housing, and are really excited to be able to learn the arts, art education, and that kind of education beyond theater would be.
We have 6 art areas. We have performing arts and studio arts. In the performing arts, it's dance, theater, music. In the studio arts, it is visual arts, media arts, and literary arts. and students will apply for one of those art areas, and if selected, will then do a 2-year study in depth in those art areas. So
Fantastic. I wish that was available when I was going through my studio arts
As
program.
do I.
Right. And all of this education is not something that the students are always physically required to be present in some of this learning, that they can do some of this information online. Is that true, Roberto?
Yeah, we do have also online statue, and students have that the ability to engage in some of the courses online, and this school districts have a list of courses that the students can take online. We have these vendors, and we have a state statute that covers online education. So
That's
students
great.
can do both. They could do the hybrid, brick and mortar, attend the classroom, or they could do online. They could do both.
Wonderful. Now, both of you, having done this and worked with a number of homeless students over a period of time, have interviewed these students, these young people. Give us a little bit of the experiences or some of the conversations that you've had with these students, and how maybe they differ in their needs from the students that most people might assume.
Well, for the homeless students, they want to stay connected. They want to go to school, but a lot of times the barriers are to getting to and from school. Could be transportation, or not knowing where we're gonna spend the night. So that poses a challenge. So that's why it's very important for school districts to have a school liaison that's able to work with the student or the family to help them navigate those challenges, to help assist them to get to and from school, so that they could attend school and be successful in school.
Mm-hmm. And the liaisons are designated at each school to be
Yes.
able to help assist these students.
Yes. So, for example, a student may not have books, may not have a backpack. They may not have gym shorts, gym shoes to participate in gym. So the liaison helps facilitate that equipment for the student.
Excellent, excellent. What conversations, Tory, have you had with students that experience homelessness or temporary housing? What are their kinds of asks or challenges?
You know, I think for us, it's not so much the homeless student. I think it deals more with the transportation issues and things like that. I think for our school, because we have that residential component, I know that we have a number of Metro students who choose to live in the dorm only because we don't have a busing system. We don't have a public, other than public transportation, we don't have a way for kids to get to the school. So the fact that there is an option of being able to live in the dorm, I think is the thing that probably connects us most to that idea of making sure that the student is able to get to the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the requirements again for enrollment to the Perpich School?
To enroll in the Perpich Arts High School is to audition. It is an audition process. We only accept juniors and seniors in high school. So in your sophomore year, you will want to talk with Perpich and figure out what you need in terms of an audition form, whether you're going to audition for theater, dance, music, or Visual Lit and media arts. And then with that, you will put together your audition process and come in and audition for teachers and artists in the metro area or in the state, and that will give you your opportunity to then be selected to participate in your junior and senior years at Perpich. So.
Okay, and what is the hour framework for when students are involved at the school?
Sure. Much like many schools, our day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We have all academic areas in the morning. So from like 8 to around 11 or so, you'll be taking your math, Englishes, sciences, those academic courses. Then we have a shortened class period that is more elective and gives you the opportunity to go into some other art areas, learn some other art areas, and or take some of the other AP courses and stuff, which will stretch throughout the year. Then in the afternoon, you're basically in class from 12:45 to 3:30. If you are choosing to participate in a theater production or whatnot, that may run till 4 o'clock. But it's pretty much that 8-hour structure, like many schools have. So
Okay.
yeah.
And the students at your school, and Roberto, the students that you have, they're certainly still getting the basic academic skills, learning the reading, writing, arithmetic, as they would at any other public school.
McKinney-Vento Act does not allow for school districts to segregate homeless students. They have to be participating fully in the curriculum, and they have the ability to have access to all educational learning opportunities. They also, McKinney-Vento homeless students can also participate in extracurricular activities after school. It would be band, sports, plays, anything that deals with learning outside the classroom. They have the right to participate, and also if there's any fees, those fees can be waived, or the Act through the Title I program services funding, they could cover those fees for the students.
Excellent, excellent. And you spoke to me before about one of your students that actually was focused a little bit too heavily in one area, and how you were able to have other students who were able to break out and do activities in many other areas. Was it an EMT study?
Yeah, I know of a student that was able to, during his high school years, he was able to participate in like PSEO, post-secondary learning options, and he was able to take some courses to become EMT certified. And also through the curriculum, he was able to learn multiple languages, and there was a seal on his high school diploma, so he was also fluent in multiple languages. So this student was very successful in his high school years. So he went over and above, which was very good.
That's great. And I think a lot of students aren't always aware that they would be able to take these accelerated classes or classes at a post-secondary school or a college that wants to encourage them to come to their college. I know I took some of that coursework myself. Not always do teachers make it clear to students that they can set a higher bar for themselves, or if they have an interest that their high school isn't really serving, that then there are avenues for that.
Right, there are different pathways for the students.
Excellent, excellent. So one of the things that the Veterans Center would like to be able to do is to be able to engage the community, to be able to help those that are students that are experiencing this transitional housing, or might be the classic homeless scenario. What is it that the people in this community or other students at the high schools in this community can do to help identify these students and bring assistance or knowledge to them about these programs?
Well, if you know of a student, whether it be an unaccompanied youth living on his or her own, and that they're not living with a parent or a caregiver, and they don't have a permanent address, and if they're enrolled in school, they should try to contact the homeless liaison for the school district, so that the student is afforded the opportunity to learn about the McKinney-Vento Act and what can the act do for the student in order to be successful in the schools. And also connect to probably drop-in centers for students. And if a student happens to be part of a homeless it's homeless and it's it's a veteran, it's a child of a veteran. There's also, like you say, the Vet Center is a good place for resources for veterans and their families.
Excellent. And of course, then there are other partnerships as well. You have, whether it be the Head Start program, you have child care programs, human services. You work in partnership with some of these other organizations that are out there to help those?
Yes, we're working with our early learning partners and the variety of these partners that you mentioned in identifying homeless persons, which would be a child or a family composition, and helping them navigate for services.
Excellent, excellent. So one of the things that the Veterans Center would like to do is to be able to reach out and find other veterans that are homeless or seeking need to be able to acquire these services. We are also looking for students to be able to do video production, learn the broadcast industry, and help us with being able to give the community more of this information so that we can help those veterans, homeless or otherwise, to try to get the information they need. One of the programs that we're working on is being able to develop some competitions for Earth Day. Earth Day will be coming up 50 years next year. This year, we're looking to be able to try to get participation with students to be able to have a competition to do some production of video programming that helps to serve veterans. And we'd like to use Earth Day as a platform to be able to have students be more aware of their environment and aspects that are helpful. Do you have any comments or thoughts about that yourself, Tory?
I mean, we have a very strong environmental studies program at Perpich Center, and it's always interesting to see what our environmental studies teacher, Wesley Wallace, has these kids do and work on. Because we are located in Golden Valley on a 40-acre campus, we have 3 ponds, and we are also the lowest area in Golden Valley. So we get a lot of the elevation-wise. So we get a lot of the local runoff of fertilizer and off of Highway 55 and whatnot. And I know that Wes Wallace, our environmental studies instructor, uses our 40 acres very well in regards to the development of his coursework and his curriculum. And it's one of the things I've always been very proud of with the school, is that idea of experiential learning and being able to get the kids out there and work with the environment and whatnot. So yeah, I'm hoping that definitely. I mean, knowing Wes, we'll have a large, some kind of a large kickoff in order to get those kids involved and start thinking about the environment and moving on with the environment. So,
are these activities something that they could participate during the summer months, or would that be something that you could help a pathway for them on?
You know, it's interesting. We do offer summer programming now. It's something that we've only been doing for about the last 2 years. So, you know, it would be interesting to see if we can't get some kind of environmental studies program going over the summer and using that 40 acres that we have there and whatnot to really take and focus in on that environment and look at what can happen. So.
Excellent, excellent. Well,
I
thank you.
don't count it out.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you, Tory Peterson from the Perpich Center for Education. Thank you, Robert Reyes from the Minnesota Department of Education, McKinney-Vento Act implementation. And reach out to us also at the Veterans Center. Help us to be able to serve the veterans that have helped serve us so well in this community. Thank you very much. Paul Lampland, host.